The world just moved the closest to nuclear war we've ever been. NATO announced today they're doing drills unlike any other for all-out nuclear war with Russia, which they say is imminent. And today, Putin came out in a national address and changed their nuclear doctrine that if any NATO weapons, like heavy cruise missiles authorized by Biden 2 weeks ago to be dropped on Russia, are dropped or launched into Russia, that it is an act of war, a declaration of war, and that Russia will use nuclear weapons in response. This is all breaking in the last few hours, and it's barely even getting any coverage. This is the world literally sleepwalking into Armageddon. This is the biggest news I've ever covered. This could end civilization and most life on the face of the planet. 2 weeks ago, Biden met with the UK Prime Minister and greenlit Storm Shadow heavy cruise missiles made in the United States to be fired and directed by NATO into Russia. Today, Putin came out and did a televised address. Reuters, AP, they're all covering it. You can go watch the address. I put it on my main show today, and said that if any NATO-supplied heavy weapons come into Russia, including conventional weapons, they will consider it an act of war, a declaration of war, and they reserve the right to use nuclear weapons. So Russia has changed its nuclear doctrine that it would sit with conventionals. It may use nuclear weapons, and he's prepared the nuclear forces of Russia and Belarus, who separately has nuclear weapons, to begin the strikes if they're hit. This is total, absolute insanity. And then it gets worse. NATO comes out today and says they're doing a drill, the biggest ever, unlike any other drill. And they say it's for full war and nuclear war with Russia and mass casualties. This is a press release put out by NATO. You can go read it for yourself. This is absolute insanity. It's a long article in the Daily Mail. It's also the New York Times is reporting it. You got the Democrats, people like Sean Penn saying nuclear war is survivable. It shouldn't be off the table. I mean, this is mass cuckoo behavior that's taking place. So, on top of NATO preparing for mass casualties, who else is? They're trying to pass more COG laws so that if Congress is killed, the federal government can appoint the new leaders. This is all going on and happening right now, and Trump has a plan to stop it. There were no big wars when he was president, and the left are calling him a Russian agent because he's against World War III, nuclear war. And remember, 11 years ago, they bragged about it. State Department has under Obama. They overthrew the Ukrainian government. They've had a proxy war for all these years. The Russians took the bait 2.5 years ago, invaded. It's escalating so quickly right now. And then domestically, we have the Democratic Party cheering the IRS persecuting conservatives and Christians, cheering the persecution of conservative Catholics, cheering all the lawfare going on. And we have Democrat congresswomen coming out and saying the DOJ and FBI's job is a check against white supremacy they say is rampant. Then they label anybody that wants to have a country or sovereignty or for Trump a white supremacist. Our government is hijacked by total and complete lunatics. And the fact that these developments are not front page everywhere, and the fact that there aren't people protesting, liberal, conservative, doesn't matter, by the millions peacefully saying no to World War III is insane. We are literally, as I said earlier, sleepwalking into Armageddon, sleepwalking into thermal nuclear war. The International Atomic Scientist Organization says we're the closest we've ever been on their atomic clock. All the other experts agree. You can look at this and you can see this. And you have NATO putting out papers that nuclear war is survivable, trying to sell this idea because the old political system's coming to an end. There's a global awakening happening, and the power structure needs a major global crisis to try to keep us under their control. This is absolute madness. This is the WEF's Great Reset, that on the ashes of civilization, they want to build their new world order. The UN's coming in with global censorship. Hillary's calling for the arrest of people for free speech in America. California's passing laws to put people in jail for memes. We are living in a time when we look back on this in the future, hopefully we can turn this around, and people aren't going to believe that people were behaving like this in government and corporations, or that we, the people, were putting up with it. Please continue to follow me at Real Alex Jones on X. Please continue to support the broadcast, because without you, this critical time, we will not be on the air. And finally, an update on InfoWars. The left is celebrating everywhere. They're saying, finally, ding dong, the witch is dead. Alex Jones, InfoWars to be shut down in November. The assets are up on a chopping block to pay the families who are just being used by the FBI and CIA. It's come out in court to try to get rid of the First Amendment using me as a case point. They turned down settlements of money. They don't want money. They've said on the courthouse steps, they've said on the national news, they want to silence me to set the precedent to silence you. And so shutting down InfoWars shuts down what could even pay them money in their rigged settlement where I was already found guilty by the judges, the $1.5 billion. It's insane. And so now they're spending it like, well, they're doing this to pay them money. No, they're killing, from their perspective, the golden goose, because they don't want money. They want us silenced. But the good news is, regardless of what they do to InfoWars, I'll be able to continue on air. We've got a lot of folks backing us, but we need to have sponsors going into the future if InfoWars is shut down in just 49 days that can support us and help through a new organization, a new group that I'll work for, stay on air. That's why our sponsors are more important than ever. So if you want to ensure that my broadcasts continue one way or another, go now to the AlexJonesStore.com. That's outside of InfoWars.